What is up, YouTube? This is your boy Carter Garrity back on the G Money 041 channel. Welcome, and welcome to the inaugural episode of Anime Wednesday. Very excited to be bringing you this. If you didn't see the intro video, you can click here to watch that video where I describe what the show is going to be about, and I'm going to be describing the show as I go through it. But as you saw hopefully you saw that, and as you saw at the end of that little video, I told you what anime I would be reviewing this week, and this week we have one of the classics of all time, Cowboy Bebop, one of the greats, one of my favorites, and I'm going to get into classicness or classic ability, whatever I want to call it or feel like, but one of the greats, one of the most watched, most beloved shows, especially in American anime communities. But let's get into the general background of the show. Cowboy Bebop was made in 1998 by Sunrise Studios. It was directed by a little-known director by the name of Shinichiro Watanabe. He really hadn't done anything up to this point. He had been, I think, a key background and a general director up until then, but this was his first major series that he was directing. The main characters of the show are Spike Spiegel, Jet Black, Ed, I can never pronounce the rest of his name, Edward III, and Faye Valentine, and also their Welsh corgi named Ein, which is why I want a Welsh corgi named Ein. Gonna have one day. The episodes are very episodic in nature. There is no real general plot. However, the overarching plot, I guess you could call it, I'm trying not to get you guys glared out because the cover is so shiny. Basic overall plot is Spike and Jet are bounty hunters. Faye is a con woman turned bounty hunter, and Ed is a hacker turned bounty hunter, and Ein is a super dog, meaning that it's a genius, but they don't know that. They're basically struggling bounty hunters just going along, trying to pick up money, and that's it. Again, very episodic in nature, so a lot of the episodes deal with other things and have different themes behind the episodes. One episode, you have a blaxploitation episode, which is based off the blaxploitation films of the 70s and 80s. Next episode, you might have a detective noir kind of episode. The next episode might be a horror episode based off of the movie Alien. It's very different and very frenetic pace. It has a great jazz soundtrack. One of my absolute favorite animes. But again, we'll talk about that in a second. So again, I have 4 criteria that I like to judge my series by: marathonability, rewatchability, badassness, and classicness. First thing, marathonability. Again, this is 26 episodes of 24 minutes long. This show is extremely marathonable. I have done it actually 2 times. Very, very entertaining show. Again, some of the episodes are better than others, but when you put it into the context of all 26, I think 25 are great. One of them very lacking. That would be episode 6, Sympathy for the Devil. I'm not a huge fan of that one. Most people aren't, but everything else is generally great episodes. Shinichiro Watanabe did a great job with this series, and little known fact, when this show actually came out in Japan, it was not that highly revered. It was liked, but it wasn't the classic that it would become. And that happened in about 2002 when this show was introduced on Adult Swim here in America. As soon as the show was shown in America, it became an instant hit, and it reached that level of classicness in the anime community. Still in Japan, this isn't the biggest series. One Piece, Naruto, Bleach, those are much bigger series and are considered much higher regarded than this. In America, we consider those shows good, but nowhere near the classic that this is. This, in Japan, is nowhere near as highly sought after, as highly publicized, or as highly liked as the big 3. And we'll talk about the big 3 later on in the year or this summer when I have an episode to do about them. But going back to this show, so marathonability, this is extreme marathonable. If I had to rate this on a scale of 1 to 10, this is an 11. That's how marathonable this is. Highly, highly marathonable. Next thing up, rewatchability. Again, I've watched this series twice. I've actually probably watched it 3 times. I've marathoned it twice. I've watched the whole thing probably 3, maybe even 4 times. Highly rewatchable. Highly rewatchable. Scale 1 to 10. Rewatchability 10. Next thing up, badassness. Is this show badass? Hell to the yes. 10 out of 10 on badassness. Spike Spiegel is arguably the most badass character in all of anime history. Actually, I would say he is. He is the definition of cool, of suave. He is the definition of any badass feature that you want to say. He is that. He is just that cool. Spike is the best, and that's why this show is basically badass. If I had to describe this show in one word other than classic, I'd probably say badass, because it just is. Faye's a badass, Jet's a badass, and Edward's just crazy, but in a badass way. Just an incredibly well done series. I cannot say that enough. Moving on to my last thing, classicness. Is the show a classic? I've already said it multiple times. Yes, 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 yes. 10 out of 10 in the classicness category. Instant classic ever since it was aired here in America. As soon as I watched the show and that opening came on, Tank by Yoko Kanno, she did the soundtrack. One of the premier, if not the premier, I don't know how you would say it, music directors in anime. Yoko Kanno is an absolute legend, and she did a great jazz soundtrack to this anime. Definitely one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. Many great songs, many great albums that they produced from the actual show. Yes, there are albums from the shows, like a soundtrack that you would have to a movie, only there are multiple because of how long the series are. I have a couple of the albums actually on my iPod because it's that good. Very, very nice to listen to. And again, just very well done. So my overall impressions, again, this show, classic, one of the best, one of my favorites. This is the remix set, meaning that it has all 26 episodes on it. I think you could still get this on Amazon for around $34, $35. I would highly suggest, if you are looking for an anime to watch, if you're looking to get into anime, if you want to see what an anime could be, this would be the show. There are some recommendations on how to view this show, however. Some people actually say you should start with episode 5, which is Ballad of Fallen Angels. And I could see why. Ballad of Fallen Angels is arguably one of the greatest anime episodes ever made. It's got a lot of action, got a lot of suspense. Very, very just well done. Visually looks great, holds up. Might have been made in 1988. The visuals, maybe a tad bit dated, but still hold up over time. I would still suggest that you start with Asteroid Blues, which is episode number 1, where we're introduced to Spike, basically a Bruce Lee with an afro, and he smokes cigarette and smoking cigarettes. I would suggest you start with that one. However, you can skip ahead and start with Battle of Fallen Angels at number 5. Either way, I highly suggest anyone who's wanting to get an anime, watch this show, and you will thank me later, because this is the show that's going to get you started and go into all these other shows that we're going to be watching, that I'm going to be recommending, and I'm going to be talking about this summer. So, with that said, next week I am going to be reviewing another one of my favorite shows of all time. I'm going to be doing my review on Gurren Lagann. Recently was done for the SourceFed Nerd Anime Club. Of course, I'm going to try and keep that show spoiler free, but it's going to be a little bit tough. That's one of my favorite shows of all time. Definitely one of the great mechs animes of all time. So, yeah, that's going to be it for the episode, guys and gals. So, thank you all for watching. Again, this is your boy Connor Garrity on the GMoney041 channel. Like the video, comment on the video, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one. And yeah, with that, everybody, thank you all for watching. With that, hit y'all with the